I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, June the 19th, where now we've got blended burgers. You knew that was coming, but try to keep you guys up to date on the latest of the crazies in the fake meat business. But now, according to an article out of Drovers by my friend Greg Henderson, they've got a company called Better Blends Burger. And what they're doing is not a novel idea. They are taking real beef hamburgers, half and then half of some kind of a plant-based filler, and calling them a blended burger or Better Blended Burger. That's not a new thing. If you remember, several years back, Taco Bell was doing that all along. They were putting so much filler in their hamburger meat that I think they finally forced them to quit calling it beef, but not sure if that's changed or not. But basically just watering down of a product. It's not really promoting plant-based protein or a burger that's an alternative to a beef burger. But the type of people that would eat that is your ultimate hypocrites. If they're really going to jump up and down and say that this animal agriculture is the ruination of the earth, well then, stand pat and try to choke down one of those fake meat burgers. No, don't be blending half and half in there because are you saying you just want to save half of the universe, or you just want it to go away half as quick, But it just doesn't make any sense. But those are the kinds of people, a lot of those left-wing extremists that, like a lot of guys say, they'll march, but they'll forget to vote. And those are the kind of people that caters to. But that Better Blends Burger, I guess, has been around, or the guy's been trying to get it going for 2 years or better. But let's talk about your cattle markets on real meat. Look at the board for Tuesday. June live cattle futures were unchanged, which is unusual, at 109.45. But we can say bye-bye to the basis now because we're already starting to establish this fat cattle trade to where there's not going to be any basis jumpers. And as I told you guys, that basis jumping is easy and fun until you get to the bottom, or you paint yourself in a corner. And we've got this market down so low now where that's about where we're at. Look at your August live cattle futures, down 7 cents at 105.55. Feeder cattle for August up 32 cents at 137.25. September's up 42 cents at 137.60. Your corn took back about what it gained on Monday, so maybe your grains have kind of moderated now, and we'll just have to get further along in the growing season before we get a whole lot more volatility. We'd like to think that, but I think for what we're behind on getting our corn in and how poor we think that this harvest is going to be on this year's crop, we've probably got all that figured into the market. But that remains to be seen, I guess. Your fat cattle trade, none confirmed. Of course, the USDA is a lot of times the last ones to know whenever some fat cattle have traded, but none confirmed. But did hear some rumors of some trade out there. Heard of a rumor of several cattle that traded in the afternoon on Tuesday in Iowa at 110 to deliver the week of July the 4th. I'm sure there's more deals around there going on. That kind of business was going on late last week, and I assume it's probably continuing, that $110, and it's not going to help anything, but we're probably going to be confirmed right around in there, guys, at about $1.10. Well, with your June board sitting at 109.45, well, don't they remember the days when they were jumping at $5 or $6 basis and then taking $2 or $3 lower as they jumped at it? But we finally lost so much market position that there we are, and whether or not we'll be able to hold the cash market or the futures over $1 remains to be seen. Talking to a guy early this week, and he was saying he kind of wishes they'd go ahead and flush it, because at 99.97 or maybe 99.99 right in there is going to be some rabid dogs on the long side. I guarantee you there'll be a lot of purchasing at that rate right there. So if we lose the triple digits, I guarantee you there'll be plenty of speculators out there to jump on that market, and that's just how long their change stretches is right there at $1 a pound. So if we get down that low, I think we'll have plenty of funds and other speculators jumping into this market because they know how good demand is. They know that we're fairly current. We've been kind of keeping ahead of the game, even though we are approaching our heaviest times of market-ready supplies between now and sometime in August there. But once we get over that hump, I think we do have some up to go there. But let's say we had some sales that were unconfirmed but probably going to show up sometime here today, but $110. Let's look at an auction market that sells fat cattle. You know, who'd have thunk it? An auction market that sells fat cattle, and you have people in there competing against one another to buy those cattle. Stockman's Livestock in Yankton, South Dakota has an awfully good fat cattle auction. Had over 3,000 head of slaughter cattle altogether on Tuesday. They sold a wide range, and they do look at quality. There's a few of those buyers out there that can still tell the difference in them, and those are the ones they send to the auctions. But sold fat cattle, steers and heifers, from $1.10, which is our direct market, you could pretty much say, especially in the Southern Plains, all the way up to $125. Now, there's a lot of trade in there, guys, but your drug-free or no implant cattle, a different thing. Drug-free cattle could qualify for all natural, no implants, just no hormone-treated cattle. But those mostly sold from $114 to $125. One thing that was interesting in there, and talked to some people that were watching that sale, said that there were many of those steers returning to feed, those weighing under 13 and all the way up to 12 and a half or better. But a lot of those cattle were going back to feed, especially if they had no implant. We haven't established that, and a lot of your veterinarians, and especially those that are heavily into your hormones and things like that, they say that just because a bovine hasn't had an implant doesn't mean that he's going to get that much more good out of the implant whenever they give it. But you'll have a hard time telling anybody that feeds cattle that. A lot of times you see those NHTC, non-hormone treated cattle, bring a premium just so the guy can give them an implant as soon as they get to the feedlot. And those guys don't do things by mistake. If they feel like they're getting more good out of that because those cattle haven't had an implant in the past, then they're probably right. And those academia nuts can show them everything on paper as long as they want to, but they're not going to convince them that that's not true because they're the ones dealing with it with their pocketbook. But a lot of those farmer feeders there like to feed those near beer cattle. Now, it does shrink those cattle, and it does take them off feed when you buy them after they've been on a heavy ration like that. But they're part way there, and those cattle that didn't have an implant, they were going right after them. Some of them bring as much as $1.20 or a pinch over $1.20 on a $1.10 market that's kind of still going down. But that's competition does for you at Stockman's Livestock in Yankton, South Dakota. Let's talk about some feeder cattle markets. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central, based on the 800-pound steer up through the middle 12 states, just like your CME index. Late in the day on Tuesday was sitting at 133.18, just a pinch lower than where it ended on Monday, about 37 cents. But not a lot of big sales going on Tuesday to drive that thing. But you look at that 133.18, your latest CME index, that takes a lot more doing to figure out, and it's not real time, and it's figured by hand, is at 133.21. So I'd say that RTI runs close enough that you can use it as a tracker. But pay attention to your steer tracker there. That's your latest sales strings of 7 to 899 pound steers. It was actually at 135.01. So maybe earlier in the day we had some cattle that kind of took that index down a little bit, but we saw some good markets later in the day that were up just a pinch better, and we'll see how we get in there. Wednesday we're going to have a lot of big good feeder cattle yearling sales there, including OKC West and El Reno. And we'll get a good test of the market then. But I'd say most of your markets on Tuesday were near steady, but still had some stick out sales. I'm kind of guy, I'm gonna kind of go lighter to heavier and show you the best stick out sales that I saw on Tuesday. Fredonia, Kansas, they normally sell yearlings high, but they can sell calves too. But 89 head of 556 pound steer calves in Fredonia bring 167 and a quarter. Pretty good price there on some steer calves in an odd time of the year for those, because it's a little late to be turning out most places. But anyway, you can still sell calves good. Guys, pay attention. Next Tuesday at Fredonia, they're going to have their grass special next week. They've got about 3,500 head of green yearlings lined up, and you get over in that part of Kansas and over into Missouri too, especially where you've got some fescue mixed pastures there. They tend to pull those cattle off right as it starts to get hot about this time of year, because that fescue can kind of be hard on those cattle. So they're pulling those cattle. They'll let that grow up a little bit, clip it, and then turn some cattle back out later, because that fescue is a cool season grass, and it grows, you know, a lot in the early spring, and then it'll grow again in the fall. And a lot of people cuss that fescue, but tell you what, try living in a place where they don't have a lot of grass, and you'll learn to love it. But Kingsville, Missouri had some middleweight cattle there. 69 head of steers weighed 669 at 153.50. That's a pretty good quote there. But the biggest quote on some big steers, Huron Continental Marketing in Huron, South Dakota, 67 head, 819 pound steers bring 144. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.